Welcome everyone to another episode of Exploring Concept Art with me, your host Jason Etienne. So this week we're exploring Sculptris. For those who don't know the program, it's open source 3D sculpting software, so you can download it today and start playing around with it. It's really easy to use. It's made by Pixelogic, who do ZBrush, things like that, so it's a great tool for just getting sort of ideas together for characters, predominantly characters. You can do some environment stuff. It does have a plane that you can play around with. So as you can see here, I'm modelling a head. I've leapt straight into it. If no one's ever used this program before, I can do a separate tutorial for that, go through the basics. But I'm making this head. I don't quite know where I'm going. I'm figuring it's going to be some kind of mythological character, but at this point I don't know. I'm letting the form sort of dictate where I'm going with it. So that's all I'm kind of doing with it at the moment. This program is really useful in a number of ways. You could potentially use it in a game engine. Not in its current form because the mesh is too high, but you could technically say make a model in here and re-topologize it in, say, Maya. So basically just make a shape built around this shape, and then say, for example, then import it into Mudbox along with the low poly version, and then bake it down onto the low poly version. You could do it that way. You could actually model it in Mudbox, but I'm not too keen on the modeling tools in Mudbox. I find Sculptris really quick and a lot easier to use, but that's just me. I've been using it for a few years, playing around with it. I've also used it in conjunction with Photoshop, so designing things, doing a sort of screen grab of it, and then continuing to work on it in Photoshop. So it's really, really good for that. If you've not explored it before, you're in for a real treat. It's really, really fun to use. So still at this stage, I'm not quite sure where I'm going with it. I've sort of made sort of eye sockets. I've put a couple of separate kind of eyes in there. At this point I was thinking possibly some kind of alien type creature, but I still wasn't sure. I thought, well, it's kind of got these kind of largish eyes. It looks like some kind of like possible alien hybrid type thing, but I still wasn't sure. And then I started having some ideas of maybe something like, I think I started having ideas of something like Lord of the Rings, like orcs and things like that. So I started thinking more along the lines of possibly a goblin. I was thinking with with high cheekbones and the kind of and the eyes. I was thinking, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. Also, it has this function as well where you can put skin textures on there. I mean, I just dragged something off the internet. I mean, this is just for educational purposes. So, but if you want to take a bit more time on this, you could design your brushes in Photoshop, so some kind of skin texture, and do it kind of properly. We'll have a sort of session on that as well at some point in the future. But yeah, so just putting skin texture in here, this kind of rough skin texture. This will come in handy for when I start painting it later, because Sculptris has a paint function as well. So we'll go into that. So what I've done is I've put the basic shapes in, then I'm just kind of really started to kind of put the finer details in, all the kind of the bags under the eyes, the sort of laughter lines around the corners of the eyes, bits around the lips, just kind of giving these bits of detail. Now, a word of warning: the more detail you put in, so you can imagine with this, there's just going to be loads and loads. It's just really quite dense mesh. So the more detail you put in, it's going to slow down. The computer I've got is not bad, but even this was sort of struggling. it manages things like Unreal Engine comfortably and Maya comfortably, but when you're dealing with stuff that's got like quite a dense mesh, it will start slowing down. So a word of warning: if you are going to start doing this kind of detail, just be aware that you can see here I put it into mesh mode. You can see it's just really quite dense. Yeah. So just be warned. You might want to be a bit more economical with the amount of detail you're putting in. So I think I left a lot of the dense detail here. I was kind of flattening out some of the ear and just playing around using using one of the crease tools just to give the ear a bit more detail. I wasn't really giving it that much attention in terms of the human ear. It was just more of an approximation of an ear. So then I started thinking about putting hair in, and then I sort of turned away with that idea. Then I started putting these horns in, and I thought, well, no, it looks a bit too much like Satan. I don't really want it to kind of look satanic. I want it to look more like, if anything, more alien-like or like goblin-like. So I gave it this. I'm not sure if it's part of its kind of bone structure or part of a kind of helmet at this stage. I'm thinking it's possibly could be bone. These could be protrusions. And then I started thinking about it being more perhaps like a helmet, and I was sort of putting this sort of edge around everything, flattening off these parts of the kind of helmet, these little extrusions. And yeah, I just really getting to the point where I think at this stage it was really starting to slow down. I mean, really quite a lot. And then it's got this cool function in Sculptris where once you go into paint mode, you can put different textures like metallic and stuff like that, but I wasn't going to do that today. I'm going to paint it. So I'm putting on like a base layer of like a dark colour, and then it has this cool function where you can paint over the height like a height map. So it'll only paint the high points of the sculpt. Yeah, it'll leave all the dark colour in the recesses, and it also has a cavity function as well, so you can actually paint in the cavities. So it's pretty cool. I mean, you do get a lot. Considering that this program doesn't cost anything at all, you can achieve some pretty cool stuff, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So it's a really great little program, and it's quick. Not so quick if you put in loads of detail in. So so I'm colouring in the eyes, put it in the eyes, and this can really sort of start to bring things to life now. But at this point I was struggling. I put the eyes in, I just thought I'd put like some highlights in there. But at this point, even though I'd stopped modelling, it was really, the computer was blowing hard. It was really quite tricky at this point. So I think in another tutorial, I think probably the best thing to do, to be honest, if you're doing this for the first time, is if you are doing detailed stuff, it does have a reduce mesh button. So it might be an idea just to sort of keep taking the mesh down, the level of detail, get the basics in, leave the detail for some crucial bits, but apart from that, leave it, just try and be economical. So I put the eyes in, I put some little red veins in there just to kind of give it more of a kind of menacing kind of look. Doing a few kind of touches to the paint. Now I've gone on with a lighter colour and then a lighter colour still, as you can see. So again, it's just, if anyone is sort of familiar with, oh goodness, what are those figures? Is it Warcraft? Warhammer. Warhammer figures, they have this where they kind of go in with a dark colour and then they kind of brush over the top with a light colour, and you get this kind of layered effect, which can be really effective. So on the kind of headgear, I'm not entirely sure what material it is. It could be something kind of like leather, some kind of skin that's been moulded. I'm not entirely sure. and I'm just putting some colour in here, just filling in the back to make sure all that's good. So really this is, the purposes of this would be primarily for, concept. If you wanted to take it into a game engine, like I say, you probably do as well just to kind of model it, use the topology tool in Maya, and then topologize it, put it into mud blocks, and then bake it down in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. I have to put it on a little turntable just so you can see it. But yeah, pretty pleased with that. So yeah, so if you like this video, please give me some likes. If you want any more information, leave some questions in the comments section below. That's pretty much it for now. So thanks for watching, and yeah, look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.